The Winter Campaign Week 2. Welcome, Will.
Thank you, Jack. Sorry, just making a note there.
Last minute notes.
My to-do list.
Listening down week 2 and still not as cold as we thought it would be this far into November.
I'm wearing quite a lot of clothes.
You've got about a million layers on.
I've been outside a bit today. So,
well, that's where it is coldest. It's still not super cold, but I'm sure it will get cold at some point, viewers. So, we are going to talk about today what we do during the winter campaign and at Cafe 43 and at House of Bread, how we support those who are cold, whether they be homeless or vulnerable, because House of Bread is a vulnerable and homeless charity where we look after vulnerable and homeless people. So we're going to be talking about the elderly, very, very important part when it comes to the cold and the winter. We're going to be talking about families on low income and the homeless, naturally. So let's start with the elderly, Will. We were watching telly.
You said that very pointedly.
You're getting there. Quicker than me.
Yes.
We were watching an advert for Age UK when I came round for Sunday lunch the other day, weren't we?
Yes. We have that heat and eat scenario where a lot of people do tend to be socially isolated. That's why
socially isolated,
which is why Age UK are so brilliant at engaging people. So if you live next door to somebody who is old, in your opinion, whether they are actually or not, it doesn't matter, but you need to think about engaging with them and finding out if they're okay. But if we don't know that person's in need, and this is a problem, a lot of people retrench in and they sort of burrow themselves down
because they've got a situation where actually the pay-as-you-go meter is very expensive and I'm absolutely starving, and this is where the elderly and low-income families and people who are just on low income by themselves, they kind of get into a group where we find a lot of people, and elderly people get the fuel allowance
in the winter.
A lot of people don't use that and donate it to us,
which is very nice.
Which you can do if you don't need to benefit from it. If you are on a low income or your pension or whatever, it does get to that point where some people have to choose whether to eat, whether to feed their family, or whether to keep their family warm, especially if you've got pets in there and all sorts. So that's why we find that there is a big number increase when it comes to winter, because people need that extra bit of food. So what can people do? I mean, naturally you can donate food to us, but we don't actually help anybody with their fuel costs, do we?
No, there's lots of different ways that providers will help. I mean, one of the things that people tend to do is they tend to bury their heads in the sand, but actually your provider will be able to help.
So directly, if you're struggling, call your provider.
Call the provider, or if you're somebody who doesn't feel comfortable to do that, you could go down to the Citizens Advice in their offices in the hub, which is opposite the Shrewsbury Arms. Or if you're familiar with House of Bread, you could come and meet colleagues at the Citizens Advice who are doing a drop-in at Browning Street on Thursday.
So that's a good bit of knowledge there. If you are struggling, or you know somebody who is struggling, call their provider, and they are obliged to investigate and help.
They will, and they are very, very flexible. So if you are somebody who needs the support of House of Bread, well then come down, have a cup of tea, engage with some of our caseworkers and see if we can help you.
Now, that's talking of people with a place. If you are homeless, which is a high number of people we support at House of Bread, there are many reasons why winter is a particularly hard time for homeless people. If you go back and watch our summer campaign for some excellent videos on describing why it's tough to be homeless in the summer, but when it comes to the winter, there are many, many different methods of coping, and coping comes in all sorts of different forms, and getting help comes in all sorts of different forms. But let's just describe. I mean, if you're watching this and you're thinking, the last time I saw a homeless person, he was absolutely bladdered. He was high. He was, he was just absolutely completely off his face on whatever. It's not an excuse, but there are reasons people do that to themselves to get through the cold winters. Well,
and what I would say is that in the time that House of Bread has been going, we are in a very good place in terms of connecting with a lot of agencies whose job it is to find accommodation and support people. So if you see somebody, we've always banged on about street scene. I know people are phoning up and reporting.
Not street scene.
Not street scene. Sorry.
Street link.
Street link.
Street cleaning are cleaning people.
So, actually, Pete, if you're watching, you feel very helpful. But anyway, Street
lovely,
League. I think the thing we all talk about it is not walking past. And as we look to the colder weather, it's even more important. And we've got some really successful stories where we've made contact, we've worked with different agencies, and we are getting people placed. The best thing you could do is enable that person through either the purchase of a cup of tea or a sandwich if you're going to speak to somebody. And I always say get informed.
Talking about being informed, we'll have a separate video for what you can do if you come into contact with a homeless person during the winter. We did it in the summer. We gave you advice about what to say and do. Oh, good idea, it's planned. But yeah, we'll talk about specifically that in a video coming up during the campaign, because a lot of the time the only way to cope is to just completely obliterate your mind, so you just wake up when it's slightly warmer. Make those hours disappear. Exactly. So that is this week's winter campaign. I hope that has been informative. Thank you very much, Will, for helping me inform people. Don't forget to check out Hob News over on YouTube or back here on Facebook on Sundays at 4 o'clock, if I remember to post it.
4 o'clock every Sunday.
4 o'clock, almost every Sunday. We'll just put an almost in there. That will give you a quick catch up of the 10,000 tin challenge, which is at a real bump this week. So if you want to know what the number is in the 10,000 tin challenge, watch the Hob News. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to share and like these videos. Get in touch. Get excited about House of Bread. Help us out in whatever way that is. We will be very appreciative, and you genuinely will make a difference.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for watching. We will see you next time. Goodbye.